You all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
He's straight talking. He doesn't muck about.
He is a bit of a showboater. I wouldn't necessarily trust him.
I love a maverick.
Boring, boring.
You can't really represent a constituency in Parliament and be a news presenter.
Yeah, I don't think he's done a bad job whenever you see him, which ain't very often.
So what do you make of Nigel Farage as your MP?
Oh dear.
No more being talked down to. No more being bullied.
Says things that we want to hear, or that we all know and we want.
Believe me, folks, this is just the first step of something that is going to stun all of you.
Nigel Farage is one of the most divisive yet popular politicians in Britain. Throughout his career, Farage has been disrupting mainstream politics, from his days as an MEP to the EU referendum. But it's been over 6 months since the outsider entered the British establishment he had tried unsuccessfully 7 times to infiltrate. Over the next 3 episodes, we will investigate how Nigel Farage has fared in his start to life as an MP, and what he has in his sights for his future in the UK or further afield. But before we look abroad, we need to start closer to home. So our chief political commentator, Kitty Donaldson, has come to Clacton to see what Farage is really like as an MP. Nigel Farage was born in Kent in 1964 and was educated at fee-paying school Dulwich College. After leaving, he was employed in the city, trading commodities at the London Metal Exchange. In 1993, he became a founding member of UKIP after being outraged at the Conservative Party signing the Maastricht Treaty. 6 years later, he was elected to the European Parliament and would remain as an MEP until 2020. Farage ran to be an MP on 7 occasions prior to the 2024 election without success, but that was before Reform UK. But as much as this is a story about Nigel Farage, it's also about this place, Clacton, the town that elected him on his 8th attempt to become an MP.
Quite a relatively new town. It was founded in 1871 by a man called Peter Brough. Originally, this area that we now know as the centre of Clacton-on-Sea, it was farmland. When Peter Brough first built it, he saw it as a middle class, upper class type resort. But the railway arrived in 1882. I mean, ever since then, it's really been a playground for the East End of London in a way. I mean, Clacton was really buzzing. I mean, like I say, the 30s really was probably the peak, and it used to attract something like 100,000 visitors a week. But I mean, like a lot of other seaside resorts around the country, it sort of started to decline late 60s into the 70s with people going to Spain and all this sort of thing. And people stopped coming here. So it was a bit, I won't say exactly derelict. I mean, it was still, you know, there was still stuff here for people to go, but it was nothing like it had been, you know. Now, at the moment, it really is a sort of retiring town.
In the run-up to the election, speculation was rife over whether Farage would run to be an MP for Reform UK. Then, just weeks before the election, he announced his candidacy here in Clacton. And the town seemed pretty happy to see him. But why did Farage choose Clacton?
Well, we know first of all that Clacton was one of those parts of England, it tended very much the places on the east coast of England where support for Brexit was highest. Secondly, of course, it's a constituency which Douglas Carswell, formerly the Tory MP, defected to UKIP and managed to defend the seat, not only in a by-election but also in a general election. And to that extent at least, so A, you had just the kind of people who are in favour of Brexit, concerned about immigration, who had already demonstrated a willingness to vote for a pro-Brexit party. So the truth is, given that Richard Tice had already was standing in Boston, which was clearly also potentially favourable territory, Clacton was the obvious place for Nigel Farage to go to with a last-minute candidature.
And in terms of balancing his profile, how important is it for him to be seen in the local area versus being seen on the news, GB News or in the papers?
Well, I think the honest truth is that Nigel Farage's principal advantage to reform is as a national leader. He is somebody who can reach to a wide range of the public. Clacton, in a sense, therefore, is a useful berth for him. He clearly needs to be there sufficiently so that he has a chance of hanging on to his seat in 2028, 2029, if indeed that's what he wants to do. But the truth is, ultimately the success of his party, the success of his project, which he's been very open about, which is to try to replace the Conservative Party. He's only going to achieve that if indeed the Reform Party maintains a significant presence across the UK as a whole. If he can do that, then he'll probably succeed in hanging on to Clacton along the way.
To win his seat, Farage had to overturn a huge majority. At the 2019 election, Tory MP Giles Watling won this seat with a staggering 72.3% of the vote. But from a standing start, Farage was able to win 46.2%, with the Tory losing 44% of his support from 2019. But becoming an MP has not changed how Nigel Farage operates. There have been questions in the media about his commitment to his constituents. Only weeks after winning his seat, Farage was in the US, campaigning with his old friend Donald Trump. But it's not just Nigel Farage's presence abroad that has stirred up some discontent. Alongside his £91,000 salary as an MP, since the general election, Farage has earned over £650,000 for work conducted beyond his parliamentary role. This includes his presenting on GB News, money for appearances, and £80,000 from Cameo, a site where fans can purchase custom videos from celebrities. Meanwhile, in the House of Commons, Nigel Farage has only attended 37 out of 106 votes in the chamber. Whilst it could be argued that as a party leader, Farage has priorities outside the House, Green co-leader Carla Denyer, whose party has one fewer seat than Reform, has attended 88 votes. Her co-leader Adrian Ramsey has attended 86. And Farage's lack of presence is something the Prime Minister is keen to make a point of.
What do I say, Prime Minister, to 25,000 constituents in Clacton, including 99-year-old Jim O'Dwyer, who flew a full set of missions on Lancaster bombers as tail end Charlie, as they're losing their winter fuel allowance, feeling the pinch, whilst at the same time we're prepared to give away a military base and pay £18 billion for the privilege of doing so.
So what he should say to the people of Clacton when he finally finds Clacton is that they should vote Labour because we're stabilising the economy and boosting the Dems.
But does all this actually bother the people of Clacton? Or is it just a story that captures media attention?
He seems to be straight talking. He doesn't muck about, he doesn't seem to hide things, he says everything like it is, hasn't tried to sort of hoodwink you into anything. Okay. And I think he'll be good.
Yeah. So you're pretty happy with how he's performing so far?
So far, yes. And I think there's a bit more to do, but hopefully look forward to seeing some of that being done.
There's been quite a lot of criticism in the media about how, because he's got so many outside interests and jobs, that he can't represent the area. Do you think that's fair or not fair?
I think it's fair. I mean, obviously, yes, he can't spend 100% of his time here. If he gets the next election, becomes Prime Minister, he won't be able to do that anyway.
Yeah, I don't think he's done a bad job whenever you see him. Which ain't very often. Yeah, no, he seems to be done no better or worse than what we've already had.
You can't really represent a constituency in Parliament and run a news network or be a news presenter and also do all of the other personal business stuff that he's doing. I've not seen him in Parliament for a particular issue for Clacton.
Yeah.
For a few months.
He talks like we want, he says things that we want to hear, or that we all know and we want. Well, if you're putting yourself up to vote, then you're going to have people having a go at you. They've all got something wrong with them, haven't they? Look at Starmer, he came out, he was forever on the backs of the Tories, and then he's come in, he's doing exactly the same.
Would you say Nigel Farage is a straight talker?
Straight talker? Hard to say, to be honest, but he is a bit of a showboater and he likes to, play the part of entertainer and stuff, so it's like, he's that sort of guy. I wouldn't necessarily trust him. I would say he says one thing and the next and then does another thing.
Regardless of how they feel about Farage, speaking to the local people of Clacton, it seems that there are wider issues at play here that matter more to them than how much Farage might be earning.
Number one issue is rubbish like that over there, the cost of living, the shops that are shutting.
Oh, just the town, it's awful. It is, isn't it? It's just
Needs investment, really.
Yeah, there's loads of empty shops, it's sad.
Lack of jobs, sort of, really, sort of, it's just a shame. I've lived here about 22 years, and seen a dramatic change
change for the worse? Why is that?
Businesses shutting down, things like that.
Cost of living, definitely, and the prices of everything, and what's going to happen come April when all the national insurance changes come in, how that affects people in shops, not just the staff but the customers as well.
Oh, for me, just helping people that are desperately in need, for me, because it's the way it should be at this point, even though the economy's going to pot, I mean, they need all the help they can get.
Ultimately, for the people of Clacton, Nigel Farage represents and speaks to their sense of disenfranchisement. People here have told us they feel like their town is headed in the wrong direction, and the only politician who speaks frankly to them about this is Nigel Farage. So it seems in this small Essex town, Farage may have found the political home he was searching for. And the challenge for him now may not be avoiding the headlines, but maintaining enough of a presence here to keep that base.